Yo, 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 it's the Bill Joyner Morning Show. That ain't really my real government name, but whatever, dog. I wanted to wrap with y'all real quick because I realized I don't really talk a lot about the NBA on this channel, man. And I wanted to get my take off about this because I've been saying that those of y'all who watched the WNBA video I did maybe like a year ago now, I think, know that I said at the end of the video that it's situations like the WNBA, the controversy over, the pay gap and whatever. And I'm not going back and forth with you niggas again. I did a whole 20-minute video explaining why the women's pay is BS and they need to just pony up and get them more money. I spent 20 minutes explaining that, so I'm not finna entertain your manosphere flavored bullshit. All right. Again, read a book or at least a news article before you start with that goofiness. But it's stuff like that, and it's stuff like this Chauncey Billups situation that, is why I said in that video that of all the major American sports leagues, the NBA is probably the one I respect the least, because at least we all know what time it is with the NFL, right? We all know what time it is with the MLB. We all know that it's a good old boys club over there. You dig what I'm saying? The NFL, and I said this on that video, the NFL know they ain't. I'm trying to keep my cussing to a minimum, believe it or not. The NFL know they ain't ish, and they ain't trying to act like they not ish. You dig what I'm saying? The NBA, on the other hand, is, social justice league, is, Black Lives Matter league, whatever. But they got this nasty habit of talking out of both sides. And this Chauncey Billups thing is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Now, because I'm talking about NBA, I'm going to make a quick little tangent. I know y'all want my Sixers takes real quick. Let me get this part out of the way real quick. Any of y'all who have actually watched the Sixers over, the past decade plus or whatever, already know that Joe, especially coming off of an injury, Joe got a bit of Shaq to him, right? Bro got to play himself into shape. You feel me? Am I a little concerned by the fact that he looked like he was playing with lead boots on Wednesday night? Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. But again, he looked in the one preseason game that he played, he looked good. You feel me? He didn't look like MVP Joe, but he looked like he was getting. So my thing is there's going to be ups and downs. Everybody, want to get Joe is cooked, Joe is done, reactions in because it gets clicks. But I'll say this as somebody who has made a habit of watching the Sixers to the detriment of my own mental and physical health over the past 10 years. Get back at me around like closer to like Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? And if Joe still looked the way that he did, then we can start having the Joel is cooked conversation. You know what I mean? But I'll also say something that another article said, and that's that if your main takeaway from Wednesday is that Joel Embiid is cooked, then I don't need to hear no more Sixers opinions from you, dog, because that was like storyline number 3, 4, dog. Man, that boy VJ Edgecombe, man, I had to do a double take because I thought I was looking at Jimmy Butler from 2019, dog. Jimmy Butler with a jump shot, as a matter of fact, man. Listen, I couldn't be more happy. You feel me with how that backcourt is looking right now, because the combination of him, Maxey stepping up, you feel me, as the leader of this team, dropping 40 in that game. When Jared McCain comes back healthy, dog, that backcourt is going to be a problem, man. If we can just get, even if we can get like 75% of Joel Embiid, you feel me, Philly is going to be a problem in the wide open Eastern Conference. But I digress. Back on to Chauncey, dog. Another brown-skinned bald nigga who I am not. So, and this is why, so for those of y'all who aren't in the loop, right? The boy, Big Shot Billups, him and Terry Rozier wound up getting arrested in connection to basically for feeding the mob basically for feeding the mob information. Terry got, for feeding the mob on information concerning NBA games. And so now they're indicted in this probe for I think they get in charge of like racketeering and money laundering and fraud and all of those, big bad white collar crimes that you do like 20 years for. The stuff that the feds really get. There's two things the feds care about, for real, is they care about drugs and they care about fraud. They don't really care about nothing else. You dig what I'm saying? But if you do any one of them two things, if you sell drugs or if you commit in any form of fraud, you feel me, money laundering, racketeering, anything like that, they coming for that ass. You know what I mean? So, and here's the thing. This is the thing that, And this is why I wanted to talk about this, right? It's because, and this is what I mean by the NBA talking out of both sides of his mouth, is that, I was watching the video, NBA Inside was talking, Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny and them was talking this morning. And they was talking about, the whole thing about gambling, whatever and whatnot. And, I fall somewhere in the middle between what Chuck and Kenny had to say, right? If you didn't watch it, Kenny, Kenny is the good uncle, right? Kenny is the understanding uncle. Kenny is the one, you feel me, Chuck is the one that's going to smack you upside the head and say, get your stuff together, right? So Kenny's take was basically boiled down, and he said this, is that, gambling is an addiction, which it is. And that's ultimately what got these dudes in trouble. And then Chuck turned around and said, this ain't an addiction problem. This is a stupidity problem. You feel me? And I feel like I tend to fall somewhere in the middle between those two, but closer to Kenny. And here's the reason why. Because, here it is, you got Shaq up there, and I love me some Shaq on commentary, but you got Shaq up there, talking, giving his take or whatever. Oh, I was looking because I thought I saw my cousin riding past. And Shaq, I turn on the TV, I turn on the NBA game, and Shaq is on 10,000 DraftKings ads during the course of an NBA game, right? You know what I mean? I went to, coincidentally enough, to the barbershop. You feel me? I take my son to go get his hair because obviously I ain't got no reason to go for myself. But I take my son to the barbershop. That's the only time that I see ESPN these days. And I turn on ESPN. Dog, there are I'm not even talking about segments. You feel me? That's annoying in and of itself, is that they got to shoehorn odds. They got to shoehorn betting odds and favors and prop bets and all of that into, stuff like NBA Live and Inside the NBA and SportsCenter and all that. But they got entire shows, dog. And not just ESPN, but CBS Sports got entire shows dedicated to gambling. You know what I mean? And I got my own theory about how gamble brain has, kind of ruined sports discourse. Because niggas, just the same way with fantasy. Like niggas, are conditioned because, fantasy conditions them to just look at, the box score, right? Oh, so-and-so got so many yards and so many touchdowns, and they gave me so many points in my fantasy league. So they look at that, and that's how they judge, whether, a player is good or not. You feel me? Niggas do the same thing with betting, but the point that I'm trying to get at with this is that, because again, what the F is Chauncey Billups doing getting in bed with the bananas? You feel me? With, right? You know what I mean? With the Gambinos and, you know, the Genovese crime family and whoever else was named in that. What is Chauncey? I mean, if you just use just a little bit of critical thinking skills, right? What is, you know, not even just a nigga, but a rich nigga doing, getting in bed with the mob? You know what I mean? A matter of fact, a nigga like, no pun intended, but a made man like Chauncey Billups, you feel me, who has so much goodwill in the league. You know, nigga was coaching the Trailblazers, right? What is he doing getting involved with the mob? What is Terry Rozier doing getting involved with gangsters? You know, again, this would be different if this was like, I forget old boy, you feel me, who got involved with, you know, some of his homies from around the way and started selling drugs. Philemlo did a whole video about this. He got in trouble for drug trafficking. We ain't talking about, you know, homies that you grew up with from around the way. And then, you know, they said, yeah, you know, I just need you to front me a couple dollars. You know, we gonna be good. You know, I make sure I slip you a little bit of something under the table. You know, you ain't been doing, you know, as well as you was when you was in the league. This ain't that situation, right? Like, what do rich niggas got doing messing around with Italian gangsters? You feel me? You just use a little bit of critical thinking here, right? Somebody got some debt. You feel me? Again, this is just me speculating here, but I got enough sense to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. Somebody got into some debt. Somebody owes some money that they can't pay off. You dig what I'm saying? And so the mob said, all right, this is what you can do. You feel me? I don't want your money. I want information from you, because your information is worth more to me than your money. You dig what I'm saying? So, and again, maybe the debt didn't come from gambling. Maybe the debt came from something else, but somehow, some way, it's bigger because, again, it don't make sense. Why? What is you doing messing around with the mob? And I mean, I know this ain't, you know, the 50s and the 60s or whatever when, you know, the racial lines was, but again, Italian gangsters don't really go out of their way. You feel me? If anything, you will see that they will probably, you know, reach out to a baseball player or something, right? You feel me? Italian mobsters ain't gonna go out of their way to reach out to rich niggas. You know what I mean? And on the other hand, rich niggas ain't gonna go out of their way to reach out to the mob, you feel me, for some type of business arrangement. You dig what I'm saying? So this gets me into this gets me into the whole, you know, implication with the league, right? And why I say I have so little respect for the NBA, because y'all niggas enable this. The NBA enables things like this to happen. You feel me? Making betting, making gambling such a prominent part of the presentation. You dig what I'm saying? You can say, oh, personal responsibility, bada, et cetera, whatever and whatnot. But there's a reason any of y'all who have ever known an addict, you feel me? Any of y'all who have ever known an alcoholic, you feel me? That's why when you go out, that's why, you know, when we get together with certain, well, I mean, I don't drink, period. But that's why, you know, when you get together with certain family members, you know, certain stuff, we ain't going to do around them because they got a history. You know what I mean? Certain stuff we ain't going to do around them because, you know, and folk, if y'all got addicts in y'all family, they will make a request and say, yeah, nah, don't do that around me. You know what I mean? Or I can't come to, you know, if y'all going to be drinking, if y'all going to be, you know, doing whatever else, you know, I can't be around there. You know what I mean? So you, as the league, as a means to make even more money, a league that's already experiencing its biggest growth period in its history, but to make even more money, you get into gambling. You understand what I'm saying? And you make that such a prominent part of your league's presentation. And you think that just because you put, a gambling addict's hotline number on the bottom of your screen, that absolves you, you feel me, of culpability in this? Nah, nigga, because you're an enabler. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just wild to me because, again, this is the NBA. Again, this is the Black Lives Matters League. This is, if corporate, this is corporate cap. This is corporate, what's the word for it? Corporate activism? Is that what it? This is corporate activism personified is the NBA. You know what I mean? But y'all talking out of both, and this is what y'all been doing. But y'all talk out of both sides of your mouths when it comes to human rights, because y'all, got to deal with China. But at the same time, you talking about Black Lives Matters and all this other garbage. Y'all talking about, women's rights, when y'all won't pay the women, their fair share of the revenue. Again, the women get paid 10%. 10% of the league's revenue. That's insane, though. If you was getting paid 10% of your job's revenue, of your company, if the workforce was only getting 10%, y'all niggas would be outside with picket signs, you feel me? And y'all niggas would quit and get on Medicaid and get on unemployment. Y'all would find a way to get that contract terminated if y'all was working for 10% of the company's total revenue. So don't give me that the league ain't, that, you know what I'm saying, they just need to make the league more profitable bullshit. Don't give me that. You know what I'm saying? Just doing all of this talking out of the neck, man. You know what I mean? And it just throws me how I was having a conversation. Matter of fact, shout out to the homie Bellamy. I was having a conversation with Bellamy the other day and was talking about, Japan has insane PR, man. Like, not even just talking about, historically, but just like current day events, current happenings on, and of course, Bellamy is hip to this because Bellamy is Japanese, right? Japan got insane PR, right? The NBA, it's just wild to me. The NBA's PR is insane to me, dog. Do you understand? For as much as people, get on, oh, well, I'm not going to watch the NFL. I'm not going to watch, football because of what they did to Cap, how they blackballed Cap, how they did that and this thing and the third thing. Nigga, do I got a league? If you want to talk about, a league that be into some shiesty shit, do I got a league for you? And it's called the National Basketball Association. You understand what I'm saying? One thing that the NFL is not doing is, financing, it's financing the Chinese. You dig what I'm saying? One thing they are not doing, you feel me? But they're able to get away with that because they do the Black Lives Matter shit, because they do the BLM shit, and people fall hook, line, and sinker for that, You dig what I'm saying? People fall hook, line, and sinker for that because, as I keep saying, niggas just, and this is why I hate, and I'm kind of going off onto, more into a main channel discussion. Now I'm gonna stop. Niggas is more concerned with, this is why I hate the phrase right side of history. Because when you talk about the right side of history, that just tells me what type of time you want. It tells me that you're more concerned with being seen, having the right opinion at the right time, than actually doing anything productive to change shit. And I feel like far too many people are more concerned with being seen, having the NBA, perfect example of what I'm talking about. Too concerned with being seen, having the right, by the right people, having the right opinion, than actually doing something positive. You did what I'm saying? Doing something world changing. And I genuinely feel that because more people think and act like the NBA than are willing to admit, is the reason why the NBA's PR is so great. compared to a league like the NFL. And again, this isn't me, because the NFL be on some BS too. You dig what I'm saying? The NBA be on some head assery too. So that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I personally feel like, and this is why you see now there is this weird way in which sponsored journalists are covering this story. Because I remember a time, if y'all remember, like Keith Olbermann and Outside the Lines and all that stuff. I remember a time when this would be around the clock, just a headline story for ESPN going into the weekend. Now you get like a 3-minute segment on First Take. You dig what I'm saying? And a 5-minute segment on Inside the NBA talking about it. And then we move on, to talking about, why, hell, I don't know what I don't even know what they be talking about. Talk about the Cowboys for the 20,000th time. And the reason why is because the ESPN and the league, all of the leagues, they're all in bed with one another now. So now you got to tiptoe around the topic, because we don't want to piss off the niggas at DraftKings. You know what I mean? We don't want to piss off, the niggas at ESPN Bet. We don't want to piss off, the gambling wing of our operation. So we got to be careful about the way that, we talk. We can't not talk about it, but, we got to put on PR voice. We got to put on our PR speak when we talk about this. You dig what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it, is that Chauncey Billups might be going to jail, and the NBA enabled it to a degree. So, yeah, deuces.